So why do we mention Shiloh so much in the Old Testament? In fact, we talk about Shiloh 31 times. But where is Shiloh? Shiloh was a town where when the Israelites entered the Promised Land with, of course, following Moses for 40 years and entering the Promised Land, Shiloh is where the Ark of the Covenant went with the priests. And it remained there. And the prophets would live in Shiloh. In fact, if you remember from the book of Samuel, the call of Samuel, when God came to the boy Samuel, calling him Samuel, Samuel, he thought it was the prophet Eli calling him. And of course, this went on multiple times, so Eli figured it out and said, next time you hear this, say, speak, Lord, your servant is listening. That happened at Shiloh. So Shiloh was a place where the presence of God dwelt before they built the temple. It was a place of prophecy. It was a place of encounter. In fact, in Hebrew, the word Shiloh means peaceful or abundant gift. It also means prosperous rest. And of course, isn't this what we believe that prayer is? It is meant to be peaceful. It's meant to be an encounter with God. It's also meant to be prosperous rest, that we prosper, that the gift God pours gifts upon his beloved while they slumber, that we prosper in this restful prayer with God. But Shiloh isn't all positive. In fact, Shiloh is mentioned negatively by the prophet Jeremiah because it was the prophet Eli and his two sons who carried the Ark of the Covenant of God into battle, losing it and being killed themselves. And there were many false prophets who hailed from Shiloh. There was also some shisty things with the kings that happened at Shiloh as well. And so Shiloh is this mixed bag in Jewish history as a place of encounter with God, but also a place of great unfaithfulness, a place where we made religion into our own will instead of following God's will. So as I mentioned, we mentioned Shiloh 31 times. And in many ways, Shiloh is a prefigurement for Mary. Mary, of course, is the Ark of the Covenant, where God literally dwelt with the Ark in the Old Testament period. Now Mary is this new Ark bearing Christ for us. Mary is this peaceful place, person of encounter with God. She leads us to that prosperous rest through her faithfulness to heaven and, of course, in the church. And Mary, of course, was perfect in her fidelity, unlike the prophets. It's very interesting today in our readings. We see how Shiloh is mentioned by Jeremiah, but then we also see in our gospel how people are talking about Jesus in his hometown. Like, where did this man get all this? We know his cousins. We know his parents. Where did he get all this? And of course, they're condemning Jesus as being a mere prophet. And of course, prophets go bad. Prophets are imperfect. But Jesus is no prophet. Jesus is perfect because he is God. And so too Mary, in the way that she leads us to Christ, leads us perfectly as mediatrix of all graces. For us, my brothers and sisters, in the Old Testament there are so many imperfect prefigurements of Mary, prefigurements of the church and the Eucharist, where humanity sometimes gets it right and then falls shy. We too, in our day and age, need to be very careful, because we can be like Shiloh, where we inherit this great patrimony, this great legacy of Catholic faith, and then we lose it all. I remember hearing Cardinal George when I was in seminary, of course, the former Cardinal of Chicago, now God rest his soul, deceased. And he would say it only takes one generation to lose the faith. As another priest in Chicago used to say, it only takes one generation to mess it up. And it's true. It only takes one generation. And we have been flirting with it, my brothers and sisters, in so many ways. And our lack of catechesis, our lack of desire to live for the Lord, our lack of fervor for God's commandments, and our lacking of keeping honor and respect for God. Just look at what's going on in the Olympics and in so many places these days where we hail blasphemy over honors and praises to God. And this is where we as Catholics need to be very careful, that we do not let our country go by the way of Shiloh, where we start using God as a lucky charm like they did with the Ark of the Covenant, losing it in battle to the Philistines, but that we truly respect and honor God in the church, and that we also fight to maintain this legacy, this patrimony that we have been given. My brothers and sisters, marrying devotion is essential, but so too a fervor for evangelization and intercession, both sharing the faith with others, but also praying for them and interceding for them. You need both. And you got some people who are really good at sharing the faith, but they don't pray a whole lot. You got a lot of people who are good at praying for people, but don't want to share a whole lot. We need to be both. Just like we live best with two lungs, we need both evangelization and intercession. The legacy and the difficult history of Shiloh shows us this, that we need to be faithful prophets. We need to honor and reverence God, but we also need to recognize that we are called to follow Him devoutly. We are called to share Him with others, and we're called to do it according to His holy name, His holy will. God has an opinion. His opinion is always greater than ours. My brothers and sisters, God bless you. And next time you hear the word Shiloh in the Old Testament, we have a few more things to think about. Magnificat anima mea Dominum. My soul magnifies the greatness of the Lord.